This is Partners in Crime with Adam Croft and Robert Dawes.
Hello. Yes, we decided to turn up this week.
Yes. Where did we get to last week? I've lost all sense of time.
Yeah, it just didn't happen. I had a wedding anniversary.
I had a wedding.
You had a wedding.
Not my own, you understand, but
No.
my lovely nieces and her husband now.
Husband, yeah.
Lovely Mark. And that was a big wedding thing. It was from the Thursday pretty much through to the Sunday. Well, very much through to the Sunday. And I was a celebrant.
Is that like the fake priest?
It is like the fake priest. But do you know what? It was very powerful, even in my hands. You know, it's the words and you know, the event is very emotional. But it was a fantastic do. Martha, who is Martha Atack, is my niece and a marvellous agent to boot in the world of high-flying showbiz and stuff, got married to her fiancé, Mark, in London at a wonderful place called The Ned, which used to be, many years ago, the headquarters for the Midlands Bank. You probably don't remember the Midlands Bank, but...
is that what became HSBC?
Probably. It sounds about right. But it's right next to the Bank of England. It's an amazing building. I mean, it's huge, and it's been converted by... Nick Jones, who runs Soho House, and is converted into this 5-7-star luxury hotel. Goodness knows what else. It's just a beautiful spot, and it was a very happy few days. And yes, I had that's a very good time. So I was having a good time while we weren't doing Partners in Crime.
Yes. Well, I had a wedding anniversary last week, and I'm off to a wedding this week as well. Later this week.
Was your wedding anniversary last week?
It was.
Good grief! What one is it?
I don't know. Nothing major. I think 9 years. So I don't know what that is.
Tell me it's not 9 years.
Misery, maybe. Yeah.
9 years
Yeah.
since you got married. Oh, good gracious me! Well, the time does fly.
Certainly does.
Well, here we are, everyone. Hello, worldwide, and certainly Bedfordshire-wide and UK-wide, wherever you happen to be wide. It's Bob and Adam here, broadcasting at last for what it is worth. And it's been quite a busy week on the old crime front. You're going to start with some very sad news for everyone who likes crime fiction. Over to you.
Yeah, well, if you haven't already heard, and you probably might have done, if that makes any sense, Mo Hader, unfortunately, passed away in the last few days. She was called the Queen of Fear. She'd been named due to her dark, shocking thrillers, and she died at the very young age of 59, having been diagnosed with motor neurone disease in December. There's a wonderful article by Alison Flood, of course, who else, in The Guardian, which we'd recommend you read. It's we'll get Moriarty to pop that in the show notes. Mo Hader's real name, Claire Dunkel. I didn't know that.
No, I didn't know.
I'd never known that. Yeah, her death was announced by her publisher, Penguin Random House, who said she'd fought valiantly since her diagnosis on the 22nd of December, but the disease had progressed at an alarming rate. She left school at 15, worked as a barmaid, security guard, filmmaker, hostess at a Tokyo club, and a teacher of English as a foreign language in Asia, saying The Guardian, before bursting onto the literary scene in 1999 with her debut novel Birdman. It was shockingly graphic and followed D.I. Jack Cafferty's investigation into the horrific ritual murder of 5 young women in London. And The Guardian at the time hailed her as a young writer in touch with her dark side and a major new talent. She published 10 novels as Mo Hader. Her 7th won the Edgar Allan Poe Award, that was gone, and her 10th, Wolf, is currently being adapted by the BBC. She won the Crime Writers Association Dagger in the Library Award for an outstanding body of work in 2011. And Mark Billingham, there's a lot more. Every big crime writer has been out quoting in the newspapers and the magazines this week. But Mark Billingham said she was incredibly different. He said a crime horror mashup is quite an established thing now, but there were very few people doing it when Mo came along. And he says she had this ability to put images in your head that would not go away. Her books are properly frightening and properly disturbing. She had started writing a new series recently, actually, under the name of Theo Claire, which was due to be very, very different. The first one, The Book of Sand is set in an alternate universe and is due to be published early next year. It took her 4 years to write it, and she described herself as being so happy to be writing fiction set in an entirely imaginative universe of my own creation. And Claire is survived by her husband Bob and daughter Lottie.
What a very sad loss, taken from us far too young, and a great novelist.
Sort of person who should never been taken from us at all, really. But 59 is...
Well, that is too young.
Yeah.
But as you say, I mean, one of the things about writing, I suppose, is you do leave a legacy of your work and your art and craft, which is still there to be read, and they are extraordinary books, and will continue to be read in years and decades to come. So, that's a very sad way to start. So let's move on, I guess.
I was just going to say, Moriarty has just popped up here to say that 9th wedding anniversary, by the way, how's that for a segue, is willow pattern or pottery.
Oh, well, I think pottery was probably quite apt for you. Willow
pottering about in the garden,
as in the willow pattern play. That was the first play I ever did at infant school, I seem to recall.
Was it?
The story of the willow pattern plate. Yes, Chinese.
I saw something interesting talking about first plays and things. I was just happened to be browsing around the other day on the internet, and I saw on South End, I think Palace Theatre.
Yes, the dear old Palace Theatre, Westcliff.
Yeah, they've got a whole thing on their website about people who had been through there, who gone on to be famous, and you were on there and actually had a picture of you as the back end of the donkey, which you've talked about a few times.
It's back end of a camel.
Camel was it? Sorry,
back end. Yes, I'm not going to take the hump.
I've seen the evidence.
But yes, that was my professional debut, as I've mentioned on several occasions, and it takes some beating, I have to say. And I seem to recall both myself as the back legs and Stephen, who was the actor playing the front legs, we both had to do a carefully coordinated Charleston as the pantomime camel. And, that's somewhere to begin a career. I'm sure everyone else who's an actor or artist of any sort starts in their own particular way, but I'm quite proud of that, actually. And there's a picture of it, is there?
There is, yes, and a wonderful looking back end of a camel you were.
Yeah, well, at least you don't see the face. I seem to be brown tights.
I've seen pictures of you as a young man, a younger man, I should say. Yes. Oh, yes. Quite a dashing looking chap. I don't know what happened.
How things change. But I can remember that so well because we had it was a good. They always did a good pantomime at the Palace Theatre at Westcliff. I don't think they do them there in that theatre anymore. I think they're across the way at the Gliss Pavilion for people who know their Essex. But I can remember that because we didn't get our costume till halfway through the run. They kept on. Poor wardrobe mistress was actually worked so hard, and we didn't get our wonderful spangly leotards and tops for the ultraviolet ballet, which of course traditionally ends the end of the first half of any pantomime, until around about halfway through January, coming into the last 2 weeks. Not a sight, certainly, when it was fitted to my body, even as lean and as young as it was in those days. It didn't look very good, but it has been said I've never looked better in UV than I did back in the middle of the last century when I was treading the boards. Right, okay, I'm going to move on now to my favourite TV of the week. I saw this and I thought, do I fancy watching this? It's a series called Black Spot, which some of you may know. It debuted on Amazon Prime in 2017, but then somehow the rights went to Netflix in 2019, where both Series 1 and 2 are now available. And Kelly Lutchman has posted on the excellent foreign crime drama and gives you some idea of what it's about and maybe some idea of why I'm enjoying watching it so much. I'm just about to start the second series and I really think it's absolutely terrific. Black Spot is a French-Belgian series actually named White Zone, meaning dead zone in its native French, ooh la la, about a mysterious small town in the forest where the murder rate is 6 times higher than the national average. Is there a forest in Midsummer? I'm sure there probably is.
There is
but anyway, this is in deepest mountainous France. The setup will sound familiar to foreign crime drama fans. A small-town sheriff who is a single mother and has a traumatic event in her past works with her mostly male staff to solve crimes, while carrying on a long-running affair with the married mayor who has secrets of his own. Additionally, there is a supernatural presence in the forest that may be real or may be a figment of the sheriff's imagination. Either way, the forest is spooky, and it certainly is spooky, I can tell you. And I don't know why people spend time there, because they seem to end up dead if they do. Well, they certainly do. The structure of Black Spot is crime of the week, with an overarching mystery about the disappearance of the mayor's daughter. Another through line involves a group of dangerous environmentalists protesting various goings-on of the mayor's powerful family, who owns literally everything in the town, including a closing sawmill and an old quarry. There's a real sense of watching it. It could be America if it wasn't so incredibly French. And I'm sure there'll be an adaptation of this with America. They even use sort of Appalachian backtrack music, sort of banjo sounds to great effect. The season opens with a dead girl hanging from a tree, but also the arrival of a fussy, monk-like district attorney. He looks like Rowan Atkinson, actually, and he's very, very amusing and very in the tradition of all great detectives, pedantic. But who really wants to uncover the mayor's family's corruption? The sheriff clearly has blinders on here, because she is in love with the mayor. And the rest of the officers seem to be resigned to the power structure of the town. So it's just terrific, absolutely terrific. The characters are sensational. The story is very good. It does remind me of a couple of other things, other series. There's a bit of Fortitude. Well, I'll read this a little bit because it says it for me. If you watch Black Spot, you will find yourself comparing it to other shows, for sure. Fortitude, for one, though, I happen to think this is much better. For the remote location, incestuous small-town politics and supernatural force. Trapped, for the feelings of isolation and the working relationship between the cops. And Le Forêt, for the spooky forest, and many other shows that feature a dogged female detective who refuses to stop working even if it kills her. One other I'll add to that, which is Stephen King's The Outsider with Jason Bateman. There's something about dark woods and caves which sort of perfect settings for these sort of psychological thrillers and supernatural thrillers as well. Ultimately, even though it retreads old ground, it's totally watchable, and in fact it might be one of those rare shows where Season 2 is better than Season 1, or maybe the town has grown on me like moss on those trees. Well, it's certainly grown on me, as it has with Kelly Lutchman. As I say, I'm just about to start Season 2. Look it up on Netflix. It's well worth a watch, I think. It's very well done and draws you in. If you speak fluent French, you won't have no need of subtitles, and you'll probably enjoy it greatly. But it's very nice to be able to be so enthusiastic about yet another a crime series, a thriller series, supernatural spooky series from what used to be called The Continent.
Black Spot on Netflix. Lovely. Okay, well, Harrogate happened, by the way. It all went ahead, I think, last week, and everyone seems to have had a jolly good time. And, of course, the highest accolade in crime writing was announced, which is the Theakston Old Peculiar Crime Novel of the Year. And if you haven't already heard what that was, it was Chris Whitaker's We Begin at the End, which was presented at the Old Swan Hotel in Harrogate, as it always is. It's a powerful story. There's a plane going overhead.
How exciting.
I left the window open, it's very warm. A powerful story of crime, punishment, love and redemption set in coastal California. It's credited by Whitaker as saving his life after being brutally mugged and stabbed as a teenager. He clinched the title the very first time he was nominated. He was chosen by a public vote, the Prize Academy and a panel of expert judges, and has received £3,000 and an engraved oak beer cask hand-carved by one of the last coopers from Theakston's brewery. You know what, keep the money. I'll have the engraved oak beer cask, as long as it's filled with beer, of course.
Yes.
Special presentations also made to Ian Rankin, OBE,
Yes.
And Mark Billingham, who are the winners of the Outstanding Contribution to Crime Fiction Award for 2021 and 2020, respectively. They also made, while we're mentioning all of our friends here in Partners in Crime, took an unprecedented decision to recognise the Northern Irish author Brian McGilloway's exceptional political thriller,
Yes,
The
we
Last
love Brian.
Crossing, as highly commended. So yeah, that's something they don't normally do.
No.
But it's such a good book, they virtually invented an award for it. Brian will also receive a handmade engraved beer barrel provided by Theakston's for his novel, which explores the troubles from the perspective of former operatives who like to think they've moved on. So well done to everybody who won things there.
Well, it sounds like a very jolly, as it always is, a very jolly junket. Unfortunately, we couldn't travel there this year. We must put that right at some point. My publishers were there and having a right old time. They proudly announced that they'd given Richard Osmond a Hobeck mug. What he made of that, I have no idea.
I can imagine.
But it's probably like one of those... What's his show he does at 6 o'clock every night where he has those strange...
House of Games.
House of Games. It's like a House of Game present.
Yes.
You know, a fondue set, a smoking jacket or whatever. But anyway...
That's my favourite programme, House of Games.
Yes, well, I did, but I can't, some of the games I just can't get my head around. I don't think... very good. It's very entertaining, and Richard Osman is always very entertaining.
I will just jump in quickly because, while we're talking about
because
books,
you have to.
And because I have to, I'm legally obliged, contractually obliged to say if you like the sound of any of the books we're talking about on today's episode, or any episode, in fact, you can get it from our wonderful sponsors at Kobo, one of the world's largest ebook retailers. You can get a massive 90% off of your first ebook purchase from them. You don't need an e-reader or anything like that. If you're listening to this, you can read one of their books. Just go to kobo.com and enter the promo code CRIME at the checkout for 90% off. And existing customers who've already claimed that can follow the link in the show notes for Partners in Crime and use the promo code PARTNERS for 40% off of selected ebook purchases. Also worth mentioning, hello to our patrons who get to see the episodes as well. They get to watch them in full glorious Technicolor and also get them a few days early too. They get lots of things, in fact, including a free book of the month every single month. And of course, we're now in August, so we've got a new one, which is Power and Control by Robert H. Wilde, which is the first book in the More Than Detectives series. I'll read the back of the book because that's what we do. She's trying to repair her department's reputation. If she fails to solve this case, she may make it worse, and more people will perish. Rebecca Grayling is passionate about preserving law and order, so after a string of bad PR incidents, the DC is happy to accommodate a journalist looking to cover police action in a positive light. But the young cop becomes worried when her major crimes unit is assigned to investigate two eerily similar suicides, whose only connection is a new evangelical church. Troubled by clues suggesting the religious group is taking advantage of the desperate and destitute, Grayling fears another sensational news piece will be the next headline. But when one of the church's elders is murdered, the dedicated detective stumbles onto a conspiracy threatening lives, including the reporter's sister. Can Grayling untangle the web of deceit before other innocents die? If you are a Partners in Crime patron, then head over to your Patreon dashboard and log in there, and you'll be able to get hold of that free at any time during August. 12 free books a year. How about that? Also, you get lots of other things, including a shout-out on the show in the week you join. So hello to Robert Wilde, who has joined us as a brand new patron this week. If it sounds good, have a look at the link in the show notes. You can find out all about it there, or go to patreon.com/Partners in Crime podcast. There we go. I've done my contractual obligations, Bob. Do you want to do something a little more fun?
Yeah, well, I don't know. It's a little more fun. I'm going to do something different. I'm going to recommend a podcast after.
How dare you?
I know, but you just hope that people enjoy Partners in Crime so much that they want to listen to.
One to listen to after this.
Yes. Or slightly before. Well, I'm saying this because I'm giving an interview on Thursday for a podcast devoted to Sherlock Holmes, which is run by a couple of gentlemen in in Arizona, Phoenix, Arizona. And it's called I Hear of Sherlock Everywhere is the podcast, which sounds very interesting. It's like a fresh air for Sherlock Holmes enthusiasts, it says here. This interview show sits at the intersection of Sherlock Holmes and popular culture and covers authors, playwrights, actors, Sherlockians and Sherlock Holmes societies around the world.
That sounds like it's something from like Lord of the Rings.
Yes. My good Sherlockian, and Sherlock Holmes societies around the world, airs on the 15th and 30th of every single month. Well, I'm very happily going to be a guest, and my credentials, I've been told, are that I appeared in a West End version of Sherlock Holmes play, which I thoroughly enjoyed with Peter Egan, and I also popped up in the BBC Radio 4 Sherlock Holmes series in the Musgrove. What was it called? The Musgrove Ritual.
And you know Hugh Fraser.
And I know Hugh Fraser, of course. So that's it. So that might be worth not listening for me, but as anyone who is a big fan of Sherlock Holmes might want to tune in and hear I Hear of Sherlock Everywhere, which is an interesting title. And it's run by two gentlemen, one called Scott Monty, which I think is a marvellous name, and another one called Burt Walder. These are names that are only available in the United States of America. So Scott and Burt, that's B-U-R-T, Scott Monty and Burt Walder are supposed to be absolutely splendid, and their English producer, David, is travelling all the way from the South Coast to interview me on Thursday. I hope the journey is worth his while. But I'm looking forward to meeting him and actually chatting to the chaps in Phoenix, Arizona. Wow. That's it. This is the wonderful thing about podcasting, as I've said so many times before. It's an international platform, and I find that very exciting. I mean, there's nothing wrong. I love local radio. Sending out the airwaves. Airwaves. It's digital now. Nothing goes through the air, does it? It all goes through lines.
Yeah, FM is still kind of up.
Oh, right.
Yeah, it's being they're not releasing new licenses to people. Or
are they not?
No, it's all going DAB and digital now.
Which brings me, weren't you doing a stint on a Travel Time show recently? How was that?
It was good fun. Yeah, it was good fun. It's I've not been back on since, so read into that what you will. I very much enjoyed it. It was
a drive time show, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I seem to recall.
4 hours a day for 2 weeks.
Gosh,
yeah.
Well, there we are.
With 2 hours notice on the first show, which was nice.
Yeah, well, they know hot broadcasting talent.
They knew I was adaptable. They knew I could just jump in on a station I'd never been on, a show I'd never done.
So what sort of things did you have to do? Do you do that sort of... do you give travel details? Do you give weather? You have to do all that as well?
Yeah, weather top of every hour. There was travel twice an hour. Of course, all the chat and stuff in between the songs too. So
you were broadcasting about congestions in Hemel Hempstead and the likes.
Which is famously in Rutland, yeah.
Was it from Rutland?
It was Rutland and Stamford Sound.
Oh, I see. I thought it was local to where we are.
No.
Fantastic. Oh, great. Well, there we are. Congratulations.
Yeah, so I had to talk about travel issues I couldn't even see.
And on roads you never even know existed.
Well, I know them, but I'm an hour away from them.
Okay, all right. Well, very nice. Well, how nice. And they haven't asked you back?
No.
Okay, fine. Anyway.
Well, they have, but I've been extraordinarily busy. I've barely been able to do this for an hour a week, never mind 4 hours a day. Unfortunately, but I will be back, I'm sure.
Well, part of that's down to school holidays, Adam, you have to admit. That's
Yes, I have to go back to school in a couple of weeks, so...
I walked in and your son this morning, I said, "Hello, James, how are you?" I said, "Are you on holiday?" He went, 7 weeks.
Yeah.
And I heard a groan from
and
his
counting.
Right. After you.
Yeah, I was going to say, very briefly, I saw Frederick Forsyth was speaking to BBC's Today programme on Radio 4 recently, and was asked about whether he thought there was still a snobbishness towards thrillers and crime novels. And he said he was tempted to be less than diplomatic, which is unusual for Frederick Forsyth. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. He said he'd not been able to finish a Booker Prize-winning novel for years, and said he invariably loses interest after 50 pages. The 82-year-old author of The Day of the Jackal, says The Times, said he would often find with the novels that win the Booker Prize that he did not know what the hell I am reading. I must say, having seen him on Question Time on a couple of occasions, I can't say I'm particularly surprised. Over to you, Bob.
Oh, right. Well, very interesting. I read a stunning review in the Sunday Times Culture for Stephen King's new book, Billy Summers, which is available on Kobo as an ebook, but it is also available as Bobo's Kobo audio booko of the Weeko, narrated by Paul Sparks. The Sunday Times said this was a return to form for Mr. King. I didn't realise he'd gone off the board slightly, and I'm sure he hasn't, it being one of the greatest writers of all time.
I think some people didn't like the fact he'd gone towards sort of crime fiction and doing his Mr. Mercedes things. But
oh, is that what it is? Okay.
I quite enjoyed it.
Well, anyway, the reviews apparently have been excellent for Billy Summers. Billy Summers is Stephen King's gripping and compelling novel about a contract killer, an ex-Marine with one last payday to earn before he retires. Once again, King sets his storytelling talent on a new path with his epic new thriller. From legendary storyteller and #1 bestseller Stephen King, whose restless imagination is a power that cannot be contained, that's from the New York Times Book Review, comes a thrilling new novel about a good guy in a bad job. Billy Summers is a man in a room with a gun. He's a killer for hire and the best in the business, but he'll do the job only if the target is truly a bad guy. And now Billy wants out, but first there is one last hit. Billy is among the best snipers in the world, a decorated Iraq War vet, a Houdini when it comes to vanishing after the job is done. So what could possibly go wrong? How about everything? This spectacular can't-put-it-down novel is part war story, part love letter to small-town America and the people who live there, and it features one of the most compelling and surprising duos in King fiction, who set out to avenge the crimes of an extraordinarily evil man. It's about love, luck, fate, and a complex hero with one last shot at redemption. You won't put this story down, and you won't forget Billy. So there we are. That's Stephen King's new book, Billy Summers, coming highly recommended from all sorts of places across the globe. So I've ordered it already from Kobo, and I'm looking forward to reading it very much indeed.
Good. Well, I think I'm pretty much done. I should probably keep my powder dry for Partners in Crime, Arsenic and Old Lace, which is our after-show show. Basically, we do it again for a bit. All of the stuff we couldn't squeeze into the main show, which is Patreon exclusive. So if you are a patron, you can go and watch that now. And if you're not, well, you can have a look at it and see if it might be for you, if you've enjoyed today's show.
Yes, well, we're coming up to our second mug of coffee time. This is how we gauge a recording session at Croft Studios.
Refill required. It's nothing to do with the time of the episode. It's to do with the amount of coffee not left in the mugs.
Ah, that's very.
Which just so happens to be about 30 minutes.
Are you going on holiday this year? No, you can't. You've got something else on the boil, haven't you? Of course.
Yes. Got the my daughter will be born in October.
Yes.
No, I'll be a few trips up to my parents and what have you. But far too much going on. Unfortunately.
Possibly no. Well, no.
We'll do it next year.
You need to be industrious, and you always are industrious. So that's wonderful. Well, anyway, wherever you are in the world, I hope the sun is shining happily. It's not too hot. It's not too cold. It's not too wet. It's not too inclement. So this is us, I suppose, managing to get the weather in right at the very end of the podcast.
And the word inclement, which don't hear often enough anymore.
No, I suppose not. But anyway, wishing you happy weather wherever you happen to be. And this is Partners in Crime. It's goodbye from Bob.
And the other one as well.
Partners in Crime was presented by Adam Croft and Robert Dawes and produced by Adam Croft. The theme tune was by the Caesareans. The Partners in Crime logo and imagery were designed by Stuart Beisch. Partners in Crime is sponsored by Kobo, your favourite local bookshop, perfected.